The Greek philosopher Socrates once said, "Wisest is he who knows that he does not know." Now, this bit of wisdom was forgotten throughout much of the Middle Ages as people devoted themselves to the rigorous institutions of dogmatism, to institutions that had remained in place for centuries, and people refused to question these institutions. Now, in the institution of medicine specifically, Galen, the Roman physician, dominated the scene for the entirety of the Middle Ages. This all changed, however, with the Enlightenment. Today I've been asked to take a look at the topic of Chapter 47, Unseen Currents Within, in which we're going to examine a little bit of the revitalization of medicine and the physician's industry through the light of one physician, William Harvey, and his exploration of the circulatory system. So we'll do this in 2 points. First, looking at William Harvey's exploration of the circulatory system, before in my second point looking at its impact on modern science and the evolution of the science of physicians. So with that in mind, let's jump right into my first point and take a look at William Harvey and what exactly he did. William Harvey decided to question Galenic anatomy. Galen had a scheme of how blood worked, about how the body worked, and many different physicians at this period in time were tackling different ideas that Galen had brought up. Some were seeking to defend Galen, and others were seeking to challenge them, and others, like William Harvey, simply wanted to know whether or not Galen was actually right. So what Galen did was perform human dissections in order to look at human anatomy and see how the blood system worked. He noticed all these different valves that probably in his mind kept blood moving in a certain direction. When he performed live dissections on other creatures like frogs and that sort of thing, he noticed the blood was constantly being pumped, moving in a circle. It was moving in a certain direction and then constantly coming back in through the heart. This led him to ultimately conclude that the heart's primary action wasn't expanding like people thought, but rather the contraction that squeezed blood out and moved it through the system. He ended up publishing a book on this. Now, this book revolutionized the science of medicine in ways that Harvey didn't think it actually would. He was just looking at the circulatory system and attempting to understand how that worked. But his science, the method with which he approached the subject, ultimately ended up revitalizing the industry of medicine in a lot of different ways. Because he put so much more emphasis on quantifiable data and looking specifically at what truth was and holding it up to the light of testable evidence as opposed to simple theory, he at least contributed to a new culture of scientific analysis based on empiricism as opposed to creating arbitrary theories and then seeking evidence to support those. So in conclusion, William Harvey contributed a dramatic amount to modern science, not only in his contributions to medicine, but in his contributions to the scientific method, whereby he tested hypotheses by facts.